Hi, and welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to talk about L.E. Modesitt Jr.'s Darknesses, the second book in the Korean Chronicles. But before we get into that, as usual, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on out. Leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I always respond back. And spread the word. It helps me out, and I appreciate it. So there's a lot that goes on in this book. I'm only going to cover like not the bare basics, but the most important stuff, because the last video was pretty lengthy and I don't want to fill in every gap. But basically this is kind of picking up where the last book left off. And Lucius is still kind of learning the whole talent thing. And he's working his way up through the ranks of what ends up becoming the Northern Guard. The Iron Valley Militia becomes no more because the Iron Valley or Iron Stem Committee can no longer rule. They don't have the golds to pay for their army. They don't have the golds to pay for really anything. So the Lord Protector of Lanacrona says, okay, we will basically take you in under our wing. Your debt will be forgiven. But at the same time, now you lose your independence. You're part of Lanacrona. And though Lucius doesn't like this, he kind of can't see any other way around it. Now that he really doesn't have a choice. He's not in a position to say anything. But the book starts to pick up when we come across a new character who also has talent. And I have to look at the name just because it's a hard name to pronounce. And I know I struggled with it when I was reading. I read it maybe a few times. But he's a nomad. Alien Yetis is how I was pronouncing it. And he somehow comes across pterodactyls, which are like ancient beasts, the flyers that you see on the cover there. And, nobody in the army, nobody believes that he's got these. Even when Lucius tells them, he's got this. This is what we're up against. So, he has his guys, they're putting up targets in the air, moving targets in the air so they can practice. So they're ahead. Even though they're talent beasts, a bullet alone is not going to do it. So what Lucius does is he wraps each bullet in dark energy. Kind of the way he did the dark energy on the crystal in the first book to destroy the crystal that controlled all the Torques. So he's doing that with his bullets, and he's trying to do that with the bullets of his company. And that's how they're bringing down the pterodactyls. And when they ask him, how are you bringing them down? He's like, I'm shooting them in the eye. Sounds good. He's not going to say, I'm wielding all our bullets with talent to bring them down. But by the end of the battle, which is for the city Dakara, they've taken out over 6,000 nomads, including Alien Edis and the pterodactyls. They're all gone. And this is where now, if Lucius wasn't a legend before, he definitely becomes a legend after this battle. Because the land that they're protecting isn't really Lanacrona. It's like a province of Lanacrona. But it's not. if that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't. Anyway, he's brought to the leader, and he's given their highest honor, which only 20 have been given out, and now he's a 21st. And it seems kind of ironic because he is in the 21st company. And it's from this battle that he now becomes really an over captain. He's become the guy that everybody is looking to, and they want to follow him. So he gets that, and then they're on their way back, and then it comes down that the Lord Protector wants to see him, Lanacrona, the Lord Protector, and Lucius is like, okay, what's going to happen here? Is this going to be like a congratulatory thing? Is he going to want something more of me? He's like, all I want to do is go home. That's it. I just want to go home, be a herder, be with my wife, and that's it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. So there's a long section in here where he's basically, when he gets to Lanacrona, he's got a long march, one, to get there. Two, but once he's there, he's meeting with marshals and other over captains, and they're basically interrogating him on finding out about the nomads, what happened there, what's going on with the Matroids, what did you experience when you were with them. Gathering information. There's a lot of this where it's sort of building the anticipation. It's like Ellie's, he's building that into anticipation of what is this meeting going to be. And we see some cutscenes between the Lord Protector and his wife. And most rulers, at least in these first two stories, they're not very savory. But you don't get the feeling from the Lord Protector. He seems genuine. And he's really wrestling what to do with Olucius. He doesn't trust his guy who's the recorder of deeds, who's looking at the mirror, who's looking at the table. But he doesn't know what to do about that either. And his wife's basically just like, you'll figure it out. You usually do. And we learn that there's a second table that gets built in Lustria. So now we got two of them. And as the meeting finally happens between the Lord Protector and Olucius, the Lord Protector gives him like the gold star. It's only like it hasn't been given out in a generation. And he's like, I will honor what you want. You will go home. The order will go with you. You need to stay here a couple days, so we can get the orders and all that in order. But he also drops a hint to Olucius about the Recorder of Deeds, because Olucius can sense, like what he did with the Dark Crystal, with that crystal in the first book, where it's controlling all the Torques. There's that purple evilness that is radiating from the Recorder of Deeds, and is coming from basically that room. So the Lord Protector is basically dropping a hint that, you know what, I would really appreciate it if you take this guy out. But I'm not going to come out and say that, because I'm just, I'm not going to, but I would appreciate, you'd be doing me a huge favor. So Olucius is thinking on this, and as he's getting the tour of the palace, not by the Lord Protector, but by another captain, he's really thinking about this and what he needs to do. And as he's getting ready to leave the palace, he pushes at the life thread of the captain and makes him faint. To make him dizzy, and then faints. And Olucius then tells the other guards, he got dizzy and he fainted. I can see myself out. It's cool. And then he projects himself as a Lanacronian captain who is going up the stairs, and he finds his way down to the table room. And Anil, who is where the evil is. And Lucius is pretty much naive at this point because he thinks that this is going to be kind of easy, right? I've handled pterodactyls, I've handled hundreds of companies of nomads. I've stayed alive. This is going to be nothing. Well, he can't just go in and disable the life threads of Anil because it's like plated armor. And out of the table starts to come this like ruby mist that like arms that are coming for Lucius, and when they touch, they burn. And basically, Lucius has like no idea what to do. It's like he becomes overwhelmed now, and he stands on the table. And as he's on the table, he falls through the table. So you're wondering, okay, now he's like surrounded in darkness. There's this chill, and he's following these arrows, and there's a silver one that when he picks that one, it takes him to Luster or Lustria, and Vester, who is an engineer, who has just built another. He's built a table. He's figured out, there's nodes under the earth that the table needs to be connected to. And once those nodes are connected, now we can see. Well, Vester basically gives Lucius the same treatment. And Lucius has no choice but to go back through the table. And when he does this, now he finds this like green arrow that he takes. And it basically takes him to the sword, the lost city. And they explain to him what's going on. Well, actually only one seems to be there. But Anil and Vester are basically what they call Ifrits. They're evils of old. They are who ruled Chorus before the Cataclysm. And if nothing is done to stop them, they are going to rule again. And then they are going, because what they do is they drain the life force from people and from the world. And they will do the same thing again if nothing is done. So we're within 100 pages, and now he's got 2 battles to go. It's like, dude, how are you going to wrap this up that quick? And he gets his, he becomes trained. He learns how to use the talent better. That it's not just all about force, but it's being able to find the threads and unravel those threads. So as he goes back to Vester, because he's supposed to be the most dangerous of the two, he's basically able to slam Vester pretty easy. And he finds within the table the nodes that are connected to the table, to the nodes, and he basically unwinds them, and then he takes out Vester doing the same thing, breaking apart his life webs. And then after that happens, now the building starts to shake because it's being constructed. The table's underground. The building around is being constructed, and Lucius is like, I gotta get out of here. He jumps back in through the table, and now he's trying to find his way back to the Hidden Sea because at this point he's tired. Yeah, he's getting chilled, but he's still sweaty. He's tired. He felt like he's run, I guess, our equivalent of a mile. They call it a Vinkt. But that arrow keeps disappearing. So he has no other choice. He has to go back to Lanacrona and take on Anil. And Anil proves a little more of a challenge because he's got the Lord Protector's brother down there. But Lucius handles him. He knocks him out before any major damage can happen. And Anil is like, oh, well, you can't stop all of us. And Lucius is basically like, yeah, I think I can. And it takes some work, but he's able again to crumple Anil, take apart the table to disconnect it basically from the nodes. And he grabs the Lord Protector's brother, drags him out of the room before the table basically explodes and the doors come flying out. And from there, he leaves the brother there, unconscious, and he heads his way back up to the Lord Protector's main or private chambers. Now, his wife's been ill. She cannot conceive. She cannot bear an heir. And she's been weak and she's been sick. And Lucius very gently knocks her out. And he studies the inside and he sees where this is from. And it's basically from Anil and from the Ifrit. And it becomes healed. So, after that, now he works his way down. And you can hear the Lord Protector talking. And he's like, okay, I'm just going to sit here in the study, the private study. I'm going to have a word or two with him. And he's like, I got to see how the Lord Protector is. It was, and the Lord Protector basically says, you did what I wanted you to do. Though he didn't believe that Anil was possessed by an Ifrit. And Lucius is like, you can believe what you want to believe. But this is what basically happened. Your brother was actually kind of in on this. I got him out. You can do with him what you want. And he's like, and your consort will now be better. And this gets the Lord Protector's attention, like almost like, what did you do to her? And Lucius is like, just go see for yourself. He's like, but all I want is I just want to go home. And the Lord Protector says, you've got that. You can leave. You've got your walking papers. And he also puts in a thing where like Lucius cannot be conscripted again unless the Lord Protector asks or requests it. He also will put in another order that no herder of the Iron Valleys can be conscripted unless the Lord Protector requests it. So the Lord Protector goes up, and his consort is, she's like, well, she's better than she's been like for like 2/3 of this book, and she's like, I feel better than I have in a long time. And she's like, we're going to be able to conceive. And he's just like, I don't know, we'll see. And she's like, you can see. I know, basically. So that is a good moment. And that was one of those redeeming moments, because I'm sitting there at like a 4.5 star at that point. And seeing the Lord Protector being a good ruler and having his wife being such a good soul and seeing things coming together for them helps a lot. Now we think, okay, Lucius is going home. He gets to Dekron, Iron Valley, and we're let in on one more plot. We don't know who it is though, but they hire these brigands to attack him and take him out as he's going on his way home. And there ends up being 21 of them. And he's able to take them all out using his rifle. But he still hasn't learned. He could have used the talent. And he finally uses that on the last few. Unfortunately, his stallion, Wildebeest, dies, which is sort of a sad moment. Because the horse deserved better. I mean, the horse basically carried him all the way through the book. Everywhere he went through, every battle he went through, the horse was there, but not to be. So he takes them all out, and at this point, I mean, he's taken like 2 shots to the thigh and 1 to the chest, which basically fractures 2 ribs. He's got that night sheep armor, which basically is what saves him from a lot of things. And this time, after he leaves the post, he's got an escort with him to make sure nothing else is going to happen to him. Now, Wendra, his wife, can feel all this stuff that's happening to him because she's wearing, 1, his ring, and 2, she's really a herder. She's got talent. Not so much on the level that Lucius has, but she's got talent, and she can do things. So he finally makes it home. And there's still one unresolved issue that the Sorher brought up to him. And that's the dual scepter that basically heals the Duarches. And that's what the Nomad was trying to get. He was trying to get the dual scepter. Lucius has only heard like the myths about it. He has no idea how even to go get it. And he's talking to Wendra about, is it over? And he's like, I don't think it's going to be over. He's like, as long as we're alive, it's not over. And there's one thing that he says in here that I really, really liked. And he says, what I am certain about is that we only have each moment once. And that moment can bring back a moment, and nothing can bring back a moment once it is past. Very poignant. And it shows that Lucius is kind of learning now. So, book 3, I think, is going to have him going after the dual scepter, even though he just wants to be a herder. I don't think he's going to have that choice, but we'll see. But, all in all, 5 stars. Again, everything by L.E. Modesitt Jr. I'm giving 5 stars just about. It's really, really good stuff. I'm glad I'm reading him. He's really good. So yeah, book 2, 5 stars. Moving on to book 3. Can't wait to see what happens there. So yeah, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know when new videos come on out. Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. I always respond back, and spread the word. I appreciate it. Maybe we can turn other people on to cool books like this, fantasy to literature to philosophy to communication to psychology to I'm all over the place. So, yeah, spread the word. And with that, as always, until next time, keep YouTube literate, and God bless.